back, thanks to Dave Klein.
He's a
Great
good
kid.
guy. I like that
Some
kid.
good kids over there in
Yeah.
Milwaukee.
They do all right.
The offer's still out there. I would love to see some McMahon kids over here.
I'm working on it.
I know you are. Tony, I got to give you credit.
Yes,
There
sir.
were not many people. Mike T believed in the Bills.
I did.
I thought they were going to lose by 50.
Yeah.
Now, Tom Brady threw...
It was going that way in the beginning.
Tom
I'll take
Brady
that.
threw 4 interceptions all last year, and he threw 4 in this particular game.
Couple of
Couple
them.
weren't his
a couple of them. Let's be honest, are good breaks. One hit up.
But that's what you
against
need. That's what
right.
you need.
Right, exactly.
If Fitzpatrick takes advantage of everything, and they look like they're believing in what's going on.
They're starting to. I mean, I'm still not completely.
Yeah, you haven't bought in, I could tell.
No, they were 4-0 in like 2008, and they finished the season like 3-9,
But you
3-7 or something like
that
that.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
But
it's
look,
like
the last few years, I don't care what their expectations were. You go down 21 points to the New England Patriots,
Oh,
you do not come back.
no.
So I don't care what kind of breaks you're getting. That's a fantastic, just group of guys, and I think I don't want to hype this guy too much, but you got to bring in all the Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh, yeah,
he's got that team. He is that leader of a guy. You know what I'm saying? And it kills me to say it because I love him. But Mark Sanchez is the third best quarterback in that division. And I don't even think it's close. I mean, I think it's Brady, it's Fitzpatrick, and then it's Sanchez. I mean, you look at what he does. You get, he never loses his cool. He made some mistakes himself that game. I mean, he didn't play a flawless game, but I mean, he's able to lead his team downfield.
Well, he's smart. He's very
Yeah,
smart.
he's- yeah,
Did you hear what he got on his Wonderlic?
oh yeah, it's
49 out of
Yeah.
50.
Yeah.
40, I don't
went to
care.
Harvard.
That's
Yeah.
impossible.
That guy went to Harvard. I hope he
49
gets
out
the
of
49.
50. That's amazing.
Now, here's the thing. We'll focus this on the Bills, but one thing you see with the Patriots is that they're just not, without a running game, they're not capable of like winning an ugly game because they can't run the ball and just hope that the clock runs out.
Yeah.
They continue to just throw the ball to Welker, and he makes a lot of plays, but at some point Brady's going to make a bad throw.
That's the problem, right? You can't put the ball in the air that much all the time. I mean, they tempt fate.
Exactly. That's a good way of saying it.
yeah.
For as good, I mean, it just you're gonna get bad breaks. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then when they get the bad breaks, even when the Bills are coming back, they can't just say, "All right, let's pound it out for a little while." They just have to keep throwing.
And they don't play any defense.
Oh, they don't even consider
No,
playing
their
defense.
passing defense is awful.
It's brutal.
It's
and
awful.
they were young last year, their defense, and they said, well, they have a lot of young talent on this team, but they've regressed from last year,
Oh, yeah.
clearly.
They definitely have.
And
That pass to Fred Jackson. That the game when I guess it was a game when he touchdown or I think it was Fred Jackson, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, no one even considered guarding that guy. That was
No.
like Raider defense. I mean, went right it down up the middle.
Yeah.
No, I'm not willing to also panic. I mean, there's some people, you go on ESPN.com, some of these people are panicking about the Patriots. I think it's a combination of a couple things in this game. A, they don't play defense, but they've shown that they could win without playing defense in the past and win Super Bowls without having a great defense.
True.
Two, they played a team that is on the road who is vastly underrated. I mean, this team is not going to be an 11-win team, the Bills, but they're a legit team. They're in that mix of that now can make the playoffs. There's always that group of teams that are going to be between 7-9 and 10-6.
Yep, absolutely.
They're in that mix, so they're no longer a walkover team, and they caught a couple breaks. Now, to me, and I'm watching the game with my father. It was my daughter's christening, so we had a huge group over. So we were rooting for the Bills on several levels. One, a lot of people that I'm in a knockout pool had New England in that knockout pool.
Oh, yeah.
So we were going nuts, and the guy that runs the knockout pool is my wife's cousin, and he was there. We're going nuts. Then, obviously, we're rooting against the Patriots. But them not scoring with that, getting downed on the half-a-yard line there. And my dad's like, oh, this, here comes the Patriots with a good break. I said, this is the best break they could have possibly
That's
happened.
exactly what they needed because they would. You're talking about Buffalo, right?
Yeah, when they didn't score in a
If they would
half-yard
have
line.
scored, there was no doubt in my
There's
mind.
no doubt it was going overtime.
Yeah, or they would have lost.
100%. Patriots probably would have gone for 2.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I said this is the best thing that can happen, and then the penalty, obviously, on top of that,
After
ended
the
the game.
timeout, that penalty was awful because they had no timeouts left. And they just downed the ball.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, you could see the frustration in the Patriots because it's just like, this doesn't happen to us.
Yeah.
You could see the surge that they were getting on the kneels there. They were just so frustrated.
pissed off. Oh,
That was
yeah.
the best defense played right there, was trying to take the ball away on the kneels. But, kicker just hit one right down the middle, and you must have been just going
I
absolutely
was
nuts, man.
loving it. I was loving it. That was a fun game to watch.
I mean, biggest Bills win in 10 years,
it
12
was,
years.
it was their Super Bowl, I'll say, for this year.
It really was.
Because there was a good chance they could fall apart and just
Great.
You know,
It was a great team win.
the one thing that scares me though, they seem like they defensively they don't make adjustments. Like Welker Either he's so
I got
fast
news-
that people
yeah,
can't keep up
I
with
got
him.
news for you. They're gonna throw the ball to Welker this play.
But I don't. Yeah, like I mean, that one drive they came down the field to tie. Remember when Ocho Cinco dropped that pass? I don't know.
Oh,
That's
my
that's
God.
probably
My
the second
boy.
biggest play of the game because he catches that touchdown. That's so much more time on the clock.
Yeah.
How many more minutes went off the clock, even though they scored?
Even on that drive, after he drops that pass, they hit Welker 4 or 5 times. I mean, in a row.
On
in a
fourth
row.
down, he
It's
wasn't
like-
double covered.
They
You gotta
threw the
explain
ball
that.
45.
Yeah.
He had 45 pass attempts. He had 21 targets to Wes Welker.
But fourth down, he's not double covered.
Like what? Yeah, exactly.
no, I agree with you.
Either he's
look,
just so damn fast and quick, or the
He's
coaches
obviously
are.
very- He's
you know,
obviously very good. But
yeah,
he is very good.
try and double cover him. at least.
something. I mean, come on.
Exactly. I mean, you got to just jam him at the line as best you can and have some linebacker tracking him because he's not going down the field. It's all underneath stuff. It's
Yeah.
amazing how good he is. And it's also amazing that the Dolphins just,
Absolutely.
drafted him and didn't utilize him and
Yeah.
just gave him to the Patriots. But, I mean, they got a winnable game this week. Look, you got to be just thrilled with where the
I'm
Bills
excited.
are right now.
I'm excited. This is the most excited I've been about
They're one of the
football
best
in years.
teams in the AFC, no doubt.
Years.
Now, we have to talk about the other really good team in the AFC, the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah. Oakland Raiders are
Oakland Raiders, and I will admit this, they are maybe 3 or 4 plays away from being 3-0,
Yep.
and from easily being 1-2. Because now I will say this: I told you Darren McFadden's the real deal. All these people want to talk about the Jets defense, blah blah blah. I don't care who you are. Darren McFadden is a stud.
Yeah.
He's-
Yeah.
He's the number one fantasy running back
He
right now.
is that right?
Yeah.
He is a stud. Now that game turned, it was 17-7, and he runs for what 70 yards. I mean
Yeah.
He's
that was
I didn't think he was that
Oh,
fast.
no. He
flies.
ran one of the fastest 40 times for
he
the combine when he was there.
flies. Now for Jason Kimball, he's been playing well, but these guys like Denarius Moore, Hayward Bay actually is halfway decent. But I still think if you're a Jet fan, you can add his awful job by the defense. Awful.
I think, the 3 big games this week, I think, the Giants beating the Eagles, the bad loss for the Eagles. The Bills beating the Pats, the bad loss for the Pats. The Raiders beating the Jets the way they beat them. I think of the 3 losses, that's the worst is the Jets loss because you have a lead.
You got a big lead. You got a 10-point
You
lead.
got a 10-point lead, and their defense, which is, I'll just get into the defense a little bit right away now because everybody's complaining about the Jets throwing the ball too much. But they're really throwing the ball because that's what the game is dictating. Because they're not running the ball. They are everybody wants to talk about the ground and pound team, but they're not the ground and pound team from 2 years ago when they had Thomas Jones and that great offensive line. They're just not.
And everyone's blaming Mangan being out.
Mangold.
Mangold. Different story. Mangold. But when he was in, they weren't running the ball anyway.
And I'll be honest, I was surprised at how well that guy played. This guy that they picked up, the center. Yeah. Wayne Hunter is their big problem. And the rest of their offensive line is not picking up the slack because they're not running the ball well at all. And I think that it's great to say, well, the Jets got the 2 AFC Championship games of being a ground and pound team. Well, I'm sure they would love to be a ground and pound team. Every team wants to be a ground and pound team. They're not doing it. They're not playing defense. So you can't just say we're a ground and pound team. And so when you look at, I think Mark Sanchez has played decently, but that pick he had, he's almost playing like Tony Romo, where he'll go on drives.
One bad.
He's
pick.
having the one, and that was a terrible pick. I think it was on
That was-
first down.
It was
right away.
because they were driving down. The
Well, they
field.
just got the turnover. They were right there. They had the ball on like the 30-yard line, and they were in field goal range. He throws that pick. It's always like that one pick, and the problem is like, he's going to make those mistakes. Still a third-year quarterback. He has made it. He's completing a lot more passes than he was.
Yeah.
He's throwing for a lot more yards. He's making better reads. But usually, if they were a ground and pound team, they could overcome those kind of problems. But when your defense is giving up that many points, it's got to worry you. I mean, and I don't know it looks like Bart Scott has just gotten old overnight. Because you look at even the play where McFadden took off for 70 yards.
Yeah.
Bart Scott had a line on him and just didn't even get a hand on him.
Now-
I mean, Bart Scott talks a lot of trash. He's a below-average linebacker in the first 3 games. He's terrible.
Now, 2 things that I noticed distinctly as an outsider watching the Jets is I get Revis is great.
Yeah.
There is an element of people don't want to throw at him because he's very good, obviously, but there's also an element because it's like the other guys are terrible.
I think that...
I mean, as great as Revis is, if Cromartie was really good, they would at some point have to force a ball in when there's one-on-one coverage. They don't. Why would you even consider throwing it to him? We were talking about this last week. Cromartie is awful.
Yeah.
I told Tony, they said he left the game because of injured ribs. He left the game because he stinks.
Yeah, right.
If Revis injured his ribs, they would be like, dude, can you go out there for another series?
Yeah, I mean...
Cromartie, you're hurt. All right, that's
Go
it.
to
You're
the
done,
back.
buddy. You hit the
You're
shot.
exactly right. I mean, he was a defensive player of the week before because they played a terrible team.
Yeah, because he intercepted a pass.
And because they throw it aside 30 times a game. I think you're exactly right. I mean, Revis is the best corner in the league, and we'll get to the Giants game later. And Asamoah was exposed by Victor Cruz last week.
Yeah.
So don't give me anything about Asamoah being as good as Revis. Nobody's as good as Revis, but he is that much better because they just don't throw to his side, and there really isn't a reason to until Cromartie can
Exactly.
show that he can do something. Now he could do great against Luke McCown, and okay, he can pick off some passes because he can make plays. But the guy, I mean, he doesn't tackle well, and
That's what it is.
And he doesn't make. There's always separation with
His
him.
whole game is athleticism, and when he plays a team like the Raiders, the one thing the Raiders have are athletes.
Right.
They're not very good, but they got a lot of guys who can run. So all of a sudden now he's just neutralized because he's like, well, I'm a good athlete, and you're a good athlete, but I'm not a good football player.
Right.
So
And
now
for
it's
as-
just like, well, you throw me the ball, I'm gonna catch it.
for as big as a guy, I mean, he's bigger than Revis, but he doesn't play as physical as Revis. As far as like off the line, he doesn't jam guys at the line well. He doesn't even want to play up on the line. You could tell he doesn't. I mean, he's always playing back. So it's like, for him, he was in the Say What segment last week, and I said it was a joke that, the difference is, Asamoah, they are different kind of quarterbacks. One's good and one's bad. And he really is bad. I mean, he's an average corner that makes big plays. I mean, I'm not going to say he's an awful cornerback because
He's exactly what he was when he left the Chargers.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they let him go. I mean, you will
Exactly.
see him if you don't watch him every day and you don't follow the Jets. You will say, "Oh, look at him. He's on the highlight reel again. Made a great interception."
Yeah.
But he caught, and then even on special teams, him trying to pick
What
up
was
that.
he thinking when
That
I
was
don't know.
huge. That was
the game.
To me,
Let's
that was
be-
the
that
game.
was the
That
game.
Yeah.
But they should have never been in that position when you're up that
Yeah.
many points. You can't. When you're up 10 points, you cannot give up a 70-yard touchdown pass. A 70 touchdown run to McFadden. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
You absolutely can't do it.
The other thing that I quickly want to talk about, now maybe I'm looking too much into this. I have a feeling that now things are starting to get a little bit out of control over there. Not that they're out of control. Santonio Holmes is doing a lot of chirping. I don't know why I'm not getting the ball enough. Blah blah blah. Is that something that you see? I feel like that's something that could spiral
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, I thought
because he's never had a great attitude.
No, but and you could take what you want away from Hard Knocks last year, but you saw him, and he didn't seem to be that guy. He always was pulling guys aside. He seemed to be more of a leader than I would have thought he was. But look, when you got a guy like him and he's not getting any looks, and he really isn't, part of it is, I think, Schottenheimer, I don't think he's a great offensive coordinator. Part of it is, I mean, Sanchez is forced to check down to Keller and check down to the running backs all the time because he's not getting any time back there. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. So, I mean, if you look, Keller's leading the team in receptions. Second on the team in receptions is LT. Third on the team is Sean Green.
But then wouldn't he know that?
Who?
Like, wouldn't Holmes know? The reason I'm not getting the ball is because every time there's a play called for me, Sanchez doesn't have time. Or do you think he's just an idiot?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, if I knew that the play was called for me and it just didn't work,
Well,
I wouldn't be mad. I would just be frustrated.
No, I think he's thinking you got to figure out a way to give me the ball.
Yeah.
You got to think of a better game
Give
plan.
me a screen or something.
You got to get him. You got to
Obviously
get the ball in your
screen.
playmaker's hands, and he is a playmaker. I mean, you got to get him, even if it's a quick slant screen, like you said. I mean, you got to get him the ball.
Now, the Jets here now have the Ravens and then the Patriots.
Look,
This is...
now here's what I'm worried about this week is they're talking about they're going to play Mangold at 60%. He's got a high ankle sprain. To me, I wouldn't play him until. I mean, look, it's going to be a tough game anyway. They got the best nose tackle in the league. Haloti Ngata is the best there is. So look, you don't want your guy who is really, to me, your most valuable offensive asset. To me, I mean, he's the best center in the league, at least in the conversation of the top 2 or 3. Do you want to risk it? You think he's going to neutralize the best nose in the league?
It tells you they know this is a must-win. Because to me...
I don't know why it's a must win. You look at the end of their. You never want to do this, but you look at the end of their schedule.
doubt.
They have a very easy. Their hard games are through week 5, and then it starts to get much easier. You
But
know,
I think what happens...
I wouldn't risk it.
I think I'm not saying you're wrong. I think that what happens is people look at it is even if your schedule's great at the end, if you start out 1-3, all of a sudden it could just
tough.
snowball, and by the time you
They
get
only
there,
got 2 wins.
I mean, if 2-3 or whatever, then
Yeah.
it's you already start out and it's not a great.
I mean, look. I think going into the season,
Would
they
you
were
be
hoping.
happy 3-2 through 5 weeks?
Yeah, and before the season, I would have said that.
I think you're in the minority there.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it's an awful start. I think there's a lot of people that
No,
were disappointed. A team that
I hadn't heard
expected was-
any Jeff. I mean, I talked.
This is things I hear on the radio and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, a lot of people on the radio are stupid.
Well, when we come back, we're going to get into some things, some Buffalo Bills things, some Jose Reyes situations, and whatever else Tony wants to talk about. It's his show. We'll be back with a Tri-State Sports
All
Guys.
me.